I do.
All right.
Hello,
We're
everybody.
live.
Welcome to the Reset. I'm Tom Hoyer, Mean Mead Pride, and my co-host is Johnny Rotten, Johnny Law, but the state of Virginia summons knows him as John Bell. How you doing, partner?
Good. I'm out of the blue into the black to continue your Neil Young reference, which I always love a Neil Young reference.
Always. Hopefully, he'll be a guest on our show one day. That would be sweet. So,
I wouldn't be able
yeah, a
to
lot
talk.
going on.
I would just sit here and be like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't have any questions. I would be like, just talk about anything you
Yeah.
want to. But yeah, we got some things to talk about. I think we mentioned pre-call that we were going to talk a little bit about Gavin Newsom. I'll just say that, reading on social media, there seems to be some, pros and cons about having Gavin Newsom as the early favorite, apparently. But I would have to say, despite some earlier feelings about him, I can't help but be impressed. And right now, I'm all thumbs up on the man. And primarily it's because of these hilarious, well, not primarily, but in large parts because of these hilarious Trump mocking tweets. What genius. What are your thoughts?
I couldn't agree more. Much like you, I've had past reservations about Gavin, which I'm not going to go into now. And I don't know that he's the perfect candidate or he's going to be the chosen one. But that aside, the tweeting is brilliant. The mocking, satirical, in your face messaging, I think, is what a lot of people have been hungering for.
Yes.
It's also, I think, fun and gratifying to see all the talking heads on Fox News just losing their shit and their heads exploding. They definitely don't like it. And anything that they don't like, I love by default. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I think more and more Democrats and parts of the liberal coalition need to take the same kind of in your face, won't back down type of attitude. So I'm a big thumbs up on what's happening there.
I am too. To touch on that Fox News host, I saw a clip of one of the thumbheads over there basically saying, Gavin Newsom, if he wants to be president, he needs to get serious. This is not what a serious presidential candidate does. I mean, they can say they have no shame. I
None.
love it. He's holding it up to the mirror because people out there, you need to understand that if you think this is cool and this is what a president's supposed to do, then you need to check yourself. You need to have a long talk with yourself in the mirror. It's just
Yep.
absolutely absurd what we've now allowed as normal. You can imagine anybody doing this before, but now this clown, and that's what he is, the things that he's written in the past would have gotten anyone else completely and totally kicked out of the game early. We should have never allowed this.
I wouldn't be surprised if you, like, to your point, if you added up all of the disqualifiers of, written, verbal, everything he's said and done, there are thousands of them. Thousands. He's, and actually,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he. I'm going to say they, because they're a group. They're all part of the cult of this pathetic man-child McTaco tits fuckwad that has taken power. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that can be done to this crew that that I wouldn't be down with, because they're literally destroying this country, ripping our society into pieces while they stick their hands into the till and open it up and steal from all of us. Not just like money, they're stealing our tax money, they're stealing our future,
Yeah.
they're stealing our freedoms. So, yeah, I mean, let them have it. Let it rip.
I completely agree. And it's super entertaining. And the way he uses the same tones, all caps, the best ever,
The best
it's really neat.
governor in the world. Thank you for your attention, GCN. Yeah, I know he's not doing it all on his own. He's obviously got an incredible social media team and communications team that are putting these together. and they're doing an artful job, to say the least. And it comes at a time where so many other people are standing down. Like, I noticed, I'll give you an example. So I haven't heard the whole interview. Not sure I really want to, because every time I listen to J.V. Vance, the round faced little man child, I can't
Mascara
even come
wearing.
up with mascara, eyeliner wearing shitbag. Um, I I get angry and my blood pressure goes up. But anyway, so Kristen Welker from NBC News was interviewing him and talking about the John Bolton raid, the FBI raid on John Bolton's house. And nobody likes John Bolton. I mean, MAGA doesn't
Right.
like John Bolton because he's not a Trumper and he's now very critical of the administration.
Right.
Liberals and Democrats and independents, across the country can't stand John Bolton because he's been fucking up our foreign policy for decades. That
Right.
being said, what was ordered and what's happening is a political hit job. And so listening to JD Vance lie his round face off was bad enough. But then I didn't hear Kristen Welker fact checking him and pushing back. I mean, she was asking appropriate questions, like, people have said this is politically motivated. And then he goes and starts lying and said, well, Kristen, I don't know who those people you are referring to, but that's absolutely not what's happening. Then he blames everything on the Biden administration. It's just lie, 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 lie,
Wars.
lie, lie, lie. And then anybody with any fucking backbone would have said, sir, you're lying. That's not true. That's a lie. But no,
Right.
they're letting these people push their demonstrably false narrative without any pushback. And she's supposed to be one of the most respected, news
Yeah.
journalists out there. I'm like, but what? Why? Like, why? Like,
Right.
think it's because they'd cut off her access. Maybe they threatened to put her in
That's
jail.
it.
I don't know. But like, the media is being intimidated. The universities are being cowed. They are systematically going through all of the independent institutions that are critical and part of the lifeblood of this democracy and any democracy, and free thought and opinion and the First Amendment. And they're bowing down. And so, like dominoes, they're falling. So, like, Gavin Newsom and some of the other, independent journalists and other people that are pushing back are great, but like, it's really scary to me to see the mainstream media and other institutions like, just like, can we have another billionaire buy out an independent news platform like the Washington Post and Bezos, and then they go full MAGA? Like, I don't subscribe to it anymore. So but I look at the headlines. I look at the headlines just to see what kind of shit they're putting out in the editorial section, and my assumption is eventually they'll magify the news section too. I think that's probably next on the agenda. But literally, one of the fuckers on there, I won't call out his name this time, but I'm sure he'll write something else that's objectionable. But essentially, he was well. They did a whole editorial that basically tried to minimize what's happening in Texas and saying people shouldn't get their panties in a wad about it. And I'm like, okay, and then it's the same thing. They're I don't know what they're doing other than like both sidesing something that can't be both sides. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's infuriating. And I think that it shows what kind of deep doo doo we're actually in.
Yeah.
We are in dire fucking straits.
Right. Exactly. I couldn't agree more on that. I think, it does come down to that. I think, journalists now are scared to death. If you deny them access, I mean, they're human beings. They have mortgages to pay, kids to feed and stuff like that. And they're terrified, and they feel like, they have to do nothing but softballs across the plate. And it's just, and everyone can see it, at least, I can see it, but it really is. I see the Washington Post building frequently, and I look at it, and the history, the legacy of that organization, and now it's just complete laughing stock. It really is, and it's really sad. It truly is, and I
It
really
is. I mean,
wish
they're
more.
a storied institution that has. I mean, you think back to Bob Woodward and Bernstein and exposing Watergate, the scandal, and helping to take down the similarly but not nearly as corrupt Nixon administration. I mean, my God, I'd actually give old Nixon a hug if we could swap him. He would be less dangerous than what we've got now, which is insane. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
sad to see, and it's easy. Like all you have to do is I kind of do it on a daily basis. I'll just go through their headlines on the editorial page and see, because sometimes the articles is very different from the headline. Like it might be a more balanced piece, but what they choose to put up there is clearly designed to curry favor with the MAGA movement and the fascists that have installed themselves. And I mean, you just look at it and you look at a guy like Jeff Bezos, and it makes a lot of sense. He's one of
yeah,
the richest people on the planet.
yeah.
He has a philosophy that every, dollar that he's ever earned, he deserves tenfold, and that, he is the elite. And he bought the newspaper because he wanted to have an asset that, that could support the narrative that he wants out there.
That's right.
I don't know. The people across this country need to wake up and understand. First of all, if they don't know what oligarchy means, look it up. And if you don't want to
That's
look it
right.
up, I'll tell you real quickly.
That's right.
It's the rule of the very wealthy few over everyone else, and they write the rules and they change the rules anytime they want. They don't want you. Number one, they don't want you to know what's going on. Why do you think they're buying all the media properties out there? Number two, they're going to make money off of you while they lie to you. And then they're going to take all your money. That's what they've been doing over the last 40 years.
That's right. That's right.
Wake up.
That's right.
And let me throw some
So I would think,
stats out.
yeah,
I want to throw some stats out because I listen a lot to people like Robert Reich and people that really know what's going on and have an amazing ability to translate that into economic principles that is easy for non-economists to understand. And since 1967, U.S. worker productivity has gone up to the tune of about 60 to 70%, which is it's
right.
substantial. In that same time frame, the amount of take-home pay that people in the middle class take home has gone up a whopping 13%. Guess who took the rest of that? But then the story gets
Exactly.
even worse. You take it down to the working poor and the people that are making minimum wage, and their income has gone up over that same time period 3%. 3%. That should disgust everybody across the board because it's so obviously unfair. And I don't know, like until we do something about that and we take some bold moves like taxing these people at a marginal tax rate of 100% over a certain level and taking ideas like Elizabeth Warren's wealth tax so they can't hide it and they can't live on a credit card until they die and then pay no
Right.
taxes on it. I mean, it's so
Right.
out of hand, and I'm to the point where I'm willing, like, if somebody came up with a platform that said confiscate these guys' wealth or half of it, or hold them to account if they're engaged in anti-democratic activity, put these guys in jail. I mean, I don't know, like we need them out of our lives, and they either need to live by the rules that the rest of us have to live by, or they need to go. That's my take. Pretty extreme, I know, but
Yeah, I totally 100% agree. I think that wealth needs to be redistributed back into the communities, back into the economy. People need to understand this is for your own good. I don't care if you think that MAGA is just a grand plan. Until that money comes back into play, you're going to suffer as a result of it. It is not
yep.
good to have, we have like 600 billionaires now in this country.
Nine
That
nine
is not
hundred and
good.
two. Nine hundred
Oh
and
my
two.
God. Well, thanks for making my day. Uh, yeah, that
and
is
growing.
not good.
No,
The
it's
argument that they're
corrosive.
giving you is that if you tear that money away from them, that you're penalizing the achievers. That's not yeah,
No,
you're penalizing the achievers. That's what they
yeah,
say. That's the
yeah, we're
buzz.
takers. We're takers.
Yeah,
They're achievers because they make more
right.
than everybody else, and that means somehow that they're more deserving and more virtuous than the rest of us, which
That's
is a
correct.
big steaming pile of horse shit. And yeah, like I hate to say it because honestly, it's probably true of the so-called liberal billionaires too. I'm not a fan of any of them because I think it's hard to accumulate that amount of wealth and not get warped by it. I wouldn't know, and I honestly don't even wanna know, man. I don't wanna know what it's like to get that money because at the end of the day, almost all of them end up being obsessed with not losing it or just
That's right.
adding and adding and adding to it, and
That's right. Yeah,
it's a sick game, and
yeah,
the sad thing is they want all of us where we are, and they wanna keep us where
yeah,
we are. They don't
right.
want you to have a livable wage because that would make you too independent. Not to mention the fact that it's effectively, and this is not new. This is not just MAGA. This is the way the United States and the system has worked, sort of progressively since the which is we're subsidizing these corporations. When tax dollars have to be paid out to support people and put food on their table and to pay for their health care and keep them dependent on these jobs that aren't ever going to, they're not ladders of opportunity. They're
Right.
mechanisms to keep people where they are and provide cheap labor to these corporations and exploit everybody. And this is the system that needs to be broken and ended. I don't know.
That's right. That's right. We need stronger enforcement of antitrust laws. We need a reform to the
Big
tax
time.
system that would include this type of thing. Part of the reason that we had inflation, I think we might have mentioned this before, is because with fewer providers of services and supplies that we need to live, it is far easier to collaborate. And you don't have to do it collaboration, which is a clear violation. You know, it's a game of golf with these guys. And if they see one raising the price and they have the cover of the pandemic, they're all going to raise it. Before they couldn't do that. You have more suppliers, the less easy it is to collude on some kind of a plan. It's better for everybody, and it provides more jobs. It's simple. It seems to be, like you said, this accumulation of wealth that's unchecked. It seems to be the human condition. Maybe it's from when we crawled around in caves and we didn't know where the next route to gnaw was going to come from. So if we found a tree, we would gather everything we could, even at the expense of everybody else in the cave living with us, because you just didn't know. And it's just hardwired. Maybe that's it in these guys.
Yeah.
But I do know it just completely distorts the reality when you start getting that much money and power, when you have so much wealth that it is impossible to spend it. That's a very bad thing. Again, I'll say it. Corporations do not create jobs. Corporations eliminate jobs if it is profitable to them. They only hire you when they need to hire you to meet the demand for their product or service. Consumers and demand is what creates job. We are the ones that create jobs. And that is it. Pure and simple. There is no other way. Stop rewarding these corporations. They don't need
Yep.
it. Billionaires do not need it. Simply put.
Totally agree. The big, ugly, nasty bill is nothing beautiful about it unless you're one of those 902 billionaire assholes. Fat cats to the extreme. It's not beautiful for anybody. They just put $5 trillion on the nation's credit card to give these assholes bigger tax breaks that they didn't need. And we're all going to be paying for the rest
Yeah.
of our lives. And so my opinion is this: I'll vote for the leader that stands up and says, not only am I going to stop this, we're going back. We're going to get that money back for you. We're not going to let
Yeah.
this stand. And guess what? We know the numbers. The numbers are publicly available. All the economic data back to the 60s. So we're gonna true the American public up. We're gonna plus up everybody and take it from them. And I'll vote for that. I'll vote for that any day of the week. And here's
So
another
will I.
thing. Maybe I'll run, Tom. I'll put my hat in the ring. But here's
Although,
another thing that I've been thinking about, which is going to talk about, again, you get power. What are you going to do with it? Well, we got to talk about a purge, because the not just like at the political appointee level, but if you look at everybody they're trying to recruit either into government or into their secret police force, formerly known as ICE, soon to be called the American Gestapo. I don't want any of these motherfuckers to have jobs affecting my life or anybody's life that I love going forward. So we need to make sure that whoever comes in is going to get these people out and fast. That's another thing I'm worried about.
that's absolutely right. And this is probably one of the points we're going to put on our 10-point list now. And I think this is one of the primary columns of this podcast is to create a list of must-dos by anyone entering Congress. We're going to push for endorsement on any candidate. If you do not commit to addressing these issues, then we're going to seek to replace you. I don't care how long you've been in there. I don't care which side you're on, but it's probably going to be primarily to the Democrats. But you work for us. I'll repeat that. You work for us. We put you there to help make our lives in this country better. We don't necessarily need a handout. Maybe we will. When AI takes all the jobs, maybe that's something that we're going to have to work out and figure out. What we want and what we're always driving for is to make America be held up to its ideals. That if you work hard, if you invest in yourself, if you have good ideas, that you're going to get the chance to lead and live the life that you want. You're going to get the best shot at that. Can't avoid failures, but you will then have, and that means everyone. And let me tell you something, MAGA people, about the brown and the black people in this country. Maybe in your fantasy land, you like to close your eyes like you do whenever you think the lottery is going to solve all your problems when you win it. That there's going to be a time where it's just going to be white people again. And, this is the country and it's going to be the way you really envision it. Nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's leaving. So until you come to the realization that we're all going to have to live together and we're going to figure out a way to work and live together and to support each other, then you're just fucking stupid, because it ain't going to happen. Wake up. Let's move forward in trying to figure out how we're all going to live together. No one likes to see crime anywhere in rural America where the white people kill each other, or in the urban streets where black on black crime is prevalent. Nobody wants that, including the black people that live in the urban areas. We have to provide opportunities. We have to provide people with a sense of purpose. If you grow up thinking there's no chance in hell I'm ever going to make it in this system, and everybody around you tells you that, the chances are very good that you are not, and that you're going to end up doing something that is going to ruin your life. That's the thing we're going to try to avoid.
Yeah,
How we go
couldn't
about
agree
doing
more.
that, I don't know. How do we go about doing that? I don't know. Certainly, it's not going to happen overnight, but we have to get it to this ideal where everybody, if you work for it, if you do those things, you have ideas, the resources that these billionaires are locking up in their wallets, it's going to be available to you. Maybe it's a no interest loan for a certain amount of money that you can start your business idea. You don't have to worry about retirement benefits. You don't have to worry about health care benefits. That can be provided to you so that you do know that you've got a safety net, but you can take a zero interest loan, put your good idea into place, bust your ass, make good decisions. That's what we want to try to provide a framework for. We want politicians saying that. We don't want to say, hey, the poor people are getting hurt. Nobody wants to be poor in this country. We want to drive nice cars. We want to have nice houses. Go for it. That's great. What you need is the resources that are being locked up now by the big corporations and the billionaires to be available to you people. That is what I'm going to push every single week and every time I open my mouth. You may have an idea now that will literally transform the way we live, but you can't even begin because you got kids that need health care and you're tied to your stupid cubicle job doing bullshit, making somebody else rich. That's not good for America. If you love America, get it together, figure out how to work together, stay in your own lane, unless you have a gay person and you are a gay person, you have a gay person close to you. You really shouldn't be thinking about gay people that much.
Right.
It becomes your, for example, like if you have a purpose in life and you're going toward that purpose, you feel like you're accomplishing something, it's gratifying, you really don't want to be a Debbie Downer and think about shit that seems to depress you. It won't, because it's not your life. Your life's in order. Most of these people, MAGA philosophy appeals to them because their life sucks. I get it. And a large part of that is because you don't have enough money to live. Totally get it. Excuse me. That makes easy scapegoats. You're not thinking through this. You're feeling through this. Fox News is propaganda. It works on your emotions. You're mad because your life sucks and it's somebody else's fault. Wake up.
Fox News figured out the rage algorithm way before there was ever social media. And if anything, social media took their cue from Fox because they saw how much money can be squeezed out of people when you constantly push that rage button. And it's disgusting,
Correct.
It's immoral, and frankly,
Exactly.
It needs to stop.
That's right.
We could go in a lot of different tangents here because you just hit on a lot of good stuff. I absolutely support the idea of our system in total, the system broadly, focusing or working to support entrepreneurial and individual initiative that values the dignity of all work. Hey, man, if you're willing to go out there and put in 40 hours of hard work a week, you deserve a decent life, not the life
That's right.
that Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or any of these twisted, weird fucking billionaires want for you, but the life that you actually deserve, which is a life free from persecution, where your rights are protected and you don't, like I heard somebody say, maybe you can, save a few nickels and scrape it together and have a family vacation once in a while. No, that's not good enough. Why should you be limited to that alone? And I'm not talking like going on a private jet. I'm talking about like, having things relatively settled, and you don't, like, if you're working, you don't have to stress out and wonder when the next medical bill is going to wipe you out, because it will. Like, something's going to happen.
Yes.
You simply don't make enough money to have a cushion like that. And so we gotta change the system itself, not not put lipstick on a pig. There has to be fundamental reform.
Right.
We, like you brought this up earlier, which is, it's all of this is interconnected. But if you think about Citizens United and the legal premise, which was bizarre and disturbing on its face, which is corporations are people and corporations should have the same rights as people. That's
First Amendment rights.
The most inhuman thing that I've ever heard of, because A, it's not true, and B, it's what has led to this incredible flow of dark and corrupt money that's cheating us all. That's what's tilting the playing field. The playing field isn't just tilted, it's vertical. And all of us are falling off while Bezos and his ilk
Right.
cavort on their huge yachts and cook the planet with CO2. And so,
Right.
yeah, I'm down with that. I'm down with anything that strengthens the working class in this country. In fact, we need to become a working class first country, which is the opposite of what we are today. We have to
Correct.
become not just a party. Yeah, the Democrats need to regain the trust of the working class, no question about it. But this needs to be a country of, by, and for the working class. No more elites.
That's right.
And that goes across the political spectrum. I don't want Jeff Bezos, or I'm sorry, not Jeff Bezos, George Clooney. I always like to pick on George Clooney. He's the liberal version. I don't want George Clooney deciding my vote or the outcome of the election any more than I want Jeff
Right.
Bezos doing. And
Right.
so
Right.
that's
Exactly.
number one. I was thinking about another thing that you said, and this is to all of our black and brown brothers and sisters out there or in support of them, which is we need to reform our criminal justice system tomorrow. And by that I mean no more private prisons for one. I can't think of a
No. No.
bigger conflict of interest. They want to maximize the number of incarcerated people. They don't want to let them out. And they're happy with a system that puts people in jail for nonviolent and petty crime because it's a huge moneymaker and it's disgusting because I don't care where you go state by state, go city by city, the percentage of non-white people that get put in jail for the same kinds of bullshit crimes is 3, 4, 5, 6 times that of white based on the percentage of population. It's wrong.
I'm in 100% agreement with you.
And these people
Yep.
don't have the resources. I don't have the resources. If the Trump administration decided to pick on me for some reason, how do I fight back? I can't hire Abby Lowell or some $1,000 an hour lawyer to keep my ass out of jail. And these people certainly can't. You know, just like the guy in New York that was, I mean, they actually killed him, but they would have just taken him to jail if they hadn't killed him. But the guy that they suffocated and and killed for selling single cigarettes.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, are you fucking kidding me? And this is the stuff that Fox News and the extremists on the right just get off on because he's black. No other reason. And they're rewriting our history. Look, you grew up in Alabama, so you know this, really well. I grew up in West Virginia, so I know it well. I know the history that I got taught in the public school system, and it looks a lot like what they're trying to bring back, which is lying about slavery, lying about the history of this country so that they can indoctrinate enough people that we're going to put up with what they're doing. And they're trying to take us back, not 10, not 50 years, but they're trying to take us back 150, 200 years. And we just can't allow that to happen. It cannot stand.
No. There are, like I said, there are things that need to be stakes in the ground. Like this is absolutely something that needs to be addressed. And we need candidates that are going to start talking in a way and bringing up the very subjects that we're bringing up right now. And again, the goal, at least in my mind, of this podcast, this webcast, whatever, is to bring something more formal, to bring something of a playbook and try to put it in front of the nose of as many politicians as possible. Get enough people behind us so that they can't ignore it, that they can't just simply patronize us and say, yeah, I'll take a look at it. And then it just dies in the trash bin on their desk. Want to have a playbook in place that we can send to these people. And I would ask anyone watching this podcast to send us an email at reachthereset@gmail.com, reachthereset@gmail.com, with any ideas that you may have, because we want this to be a people's petition. We want to put together the most important things that they should be basically taking up on a daily basis, and so that we can be on the same page as they are and track their progress toward that. And I'm talking about 10 items, maybe it's 8, maybe it's 12, I don't know. Right now at this point, but something that is simple enough, most important, that could be basically worked on immediately by any incoming Congress. And we want to be able to hold it in our hands and track the progress. And John, we'll help track it so that we can say this is what happened in the committees today, etc., and give them what's being done to answer our plea. So I don't know. What do you think? I pretty much got it for that for this particular podcast. You want to finish up? How about telling everybody looking about where you find your Substack?
My Substack can be found at Eat the Oligarchy. What I do there is I talk about the oligarchy all day long and who these people are, what they're doing, and what I think we need to do to fight back. So it's all part of the same sets of ideas and passions that Tom and I both share. It's about, I mean, I don't know about you guys out there, but when I look at what's happening in this country, I feel pain. I feel deep sadness. I feel disturbed by how wrong all of this is and how unnecessary. And it just makes me furious that we're at this point in the richest country on the planet. And I don't want to see us turn into apartheid South Africa, but that's where we're heading. I don't want to see us turned into the mythical Gilead in The Handmaid's Tale, but that's what is at the front of these motherfuckers' minds. And so, we need to, if we want to keep our rights, if we want to have a country in an existence that's based on fairness and dignity for all, then we're going to have to fight for it. And so that's my little plug. Like, I hope everybody in their way, like to Tom's, for Tom's suggestion, send us your ideas. If you're that passionate, we'll invite you onto the podcast. Come onto the podcast and we'll have a conversation about it. Let's do it. Let's not leave anything left in the tank, because it's fucking fascism, everybody. Like, it doesn't get defeated with strongly worded letters. It doesn't go away on its own. These terrible, terrible people have cracked the code on how to break it all down and subjugate every last one of us and steal from us both our money and our rights. And I'm not going to take it. I know Tom doesn't want to take it. And I don't think the vast majority of the good people in America are going to stand down and lay down to these awful people. And so we're here for the fight, and we've got open arms and open minds for anybody that wants to join in. I'll just say this before we sign off. I was listening. One of my favorite newscasters and journalists is Ali Velshi. Works for MSNBC. I love the guy. I love his humanity. I love his intellect. I love the way that he gets all kinds of people on his show to talk about these things that should matter to all of us. And today he had a guy by the name of Joe Walsh. No, not the famous rocker who I also love, who's the lead guitarist, one of the lead guitarists for the Eagles. Awesome. But a different Joe Walsh, a Joe Walsh that was one of the original members of the Tea Party. And he used to irritate the ever-living fuck out of me because he was loud. He was aggressive. He believed in a lot of the principles, maybe some of the better principles, I guess, of the Tea Party at the time. But 2.5 months ago, Joe Walsh became a member of the Democratic Party. And he has been a stalwart anti-Trumper for a long time now, for years. And I just want to say, if he can look at this and say, no, I'm not down with fascism. I'm not down with all of these crazy, despicable ideas. I'm not down with being a racist piece of shit. And I'm not going to associate myself with these other racist pieces of shit. Then you can too. That's a message for the MAGA folk out there. All right. You can change. If Joe Walsh, and he's not the only one, I'm just bringing him up. If he can get his head out of his ass, I hope some of you can too. How's that?
Amen.